Hi guys, looks like I'm recording. Um, I made some videos today of the wheat uh, below my house here that I wanted to share with you. But when I got them home, the winds were really loud, and you know that sound. If you've watched my videos when I've done the barley inspections and the winds are blowing, it blows across that microphone, and you get so much wind noise that it's hard to hear what I'm saying. So I'm going to do a workaround. I'm going to play the video that I've made, and I'm going to turn the sound off and talk to you about it from Zoom. That's the best fix I can think of. So let's start the video. Before we do, um, I wanted to share with you that the Father put it in my spirit last year that I would have enough wheat soon that was my desire. His desire he put in me was to have enough of this black ancient wheat to actually sow a field of wheat. The only place in Israel that I know that they're sowing this wheat is at the University of Haifa as part of their genome program to save the domestic wheat, which I'm not interested in doing. I'm interested in growing the wheat that would have been offered in the temple. And that's what this exact wheat is the wheat that would be offered in the temple. So let me get that video for you. And I would like for you to pray diligently with me that the Father who allowed me to find the wheat to begin with, that allowed me to plant it for the last 2 years and increase the seeds that I initially harvested from the field, which was about 7 heads. The Father that brought me to an area this year that is just a treasure trove of this wild black emmer wheat. That same Father has a plan for a field. And so what you're praying with me about is that I know the field when I see it, and that I see the field. Because I'm going to have enough, I believe, of wheat by the time that I go back on Sunday Yom Rishon and finished harvesting up on the higher end. I took the low end, and I'm going to go up on the high end. I'm going to leave the stuff in the middle. I don't want to rob the land of the seed that the Father put there. But I've not even begun to touch it. I've maybe touched a fourth of it. But pray with me that this field becomes apparent. Specifically, it needs to be an east-facing sloped field. Every bit of this wheat was situated that way, and we'll get into that. So let me get the video. One other thing, you're going to see that I'm pretty banged up and scratched up when you see my hands in the video. Long story short, I did a lot of tree and bush trimming in the garden this week from necessity. The Mosheva where I live is changing their policy, and we're no longer going to be able to put our cuttings on the curb and have it collected. We're going to have to haul it to a central location, which is going to be extremely hard for me. So I tried to get everything done before that law changed, and almost everything in Israel grows thorns. So I got chewed up pretty bad this week, but it'll heal. It just looks rough right now, but it'll heal. Okay, so let's screen share this. And pull this over here like this and push play. So I'm turn this, hang on, let me just, okay. So what I'm showing you here is that there is an intense amount. The wheat is dense in here. I'm going to use my cursor here and try to show you as we go along. This is wheat, this is wheat, this is barley, this is wheat. This was a mixture of wheat and barley. On the bottom down in here, there's lots of wheat. You can see these little broken heads of barley there. But all of this slightly green and green-black is wheat down in here. I don't do a very good job of running the camera and filming, but I'm showing you that is barley because it has one on the sides that have ons. Okay, that's all it has. And I'm showing you that this next one, see how much more hairy it looks, how many more awns it has than the barley we were just looking at. See the appearing now of the black and the green is starting to fade. So I'm going to show you another barley again for comparison to show you that it is a much less hairy barley, hairy grain. So this is wheat here. I'm just showing you wheat. All of this green here is wheat that's getting ready to turn. All of this is wheat that's getting ready to turn. All of this is all of that down there. All of this back over in here. This is not. So I had never, ever been exposed to this much wheat, ever. What I found that I started with was about 15 heads of wheat, and I've multiplied from that. This was almost as much wheat as I collected this year from what I've grown, although not quite. And so we'll go on up the road here in just a second. I'm going to go back here and take another 50% of these wheat that are green as they continue to ripen. I'm not going to take them all. Okay, so here, if you'll look, this is usually what I'm used to seeing. I'm going to pause this. Do you see these little, just these little black flecks here and there scattered throughout this video? That was almost the same condition where I found the wheat the first year. I have never seen, like previous to the video, that clip that we just left, that much wheat condensed together. More likely it's like this, just one here, one there, kind of sticks up. You got to go around and collect it. Now there's one, and that's really the presentation that I'm used to seeing. So that's what I'm saying in that video. Here you can see that there's quite a bit of video in many areas. All of this, let me stop it and go back. All of these black flecks, all of these, all down through here, all of those black flecks, those are all the black wheat, the ancient wheat, all of it. It's hard to see unless the wind is blowing. Thankfully, we had that wind blowing today, so it's a little easy to pick up the movement of those black heads of wheat all up in there at the top. See it standing up in that shattered oats, the wild oats there, the chaff of the oats. And if you'll look, you'll see that a lot of these are beginning already to, or have begun to shatter. Like him, his top is not complete. His top is not complete. These have shattered. This one is whole. This one is whole. Usually when they're whole, isn't that beautiful? See that up there on top of that? These are the areas I'll be going back to up on top now on when we're shown to collect the what more I can get. So that's an east-facing ridge. What the Father showed me today is that every place he had planted this wild wheat, isn't that beautiful over the Sea of Galilee or the Canary? Every place he had planted this wheat faced east. Faced east. What is it that our Messiah is called? Here's some more black wheat. He's called the bright morning star, and he's called the day star. And this black wheat, isn't that beautiful, is facing east. Every place on this road that the land turned to an eastward direction, there grew black wheat. See it all up in here. I know I'm going fast. Let me back up and pause. Okay, see these black flecks in there? All these black flecks. Some of the wheat was bigger than others. They weren't all the same size. They were all fully mature. They were all disease-free. But some just had more of an opportunity to, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Some just had more of an opportunity with abundant water in the right time. And see all of this up in here, all this wheat, to develop into a fuller ear. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? A fuller ear of, oh, that was so beautiful right up in here, a fuller ear of grain. And this one, there were just some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful patches of this black wheat. And again, this is an east facing area. It just amazed me. Okay, here's some more up and through here, all up and through here. Now go do a word search on the word field in Hebrew in the Old Testament, and you're going to see, I'm going to pause this, you're going to see that what the Bible calls a field and what some of the other other grain inspectors, specifically barley inspectors, call an acceptable field are not the same thing as what the Bible calls acceptable fields. If we go to the book of Ruth, which happened in Bethlehem, Judea, okay, and you go to Google Earth, do this if you're curious. When you stop the video, go to Google Earth and look at Bethlehem. It is a mountainous, rocky area. Our modern inspectors that come to Israel and the those that live here that don't believe in Messiah call Bethlehem, Judea, an inadequate or an unacceptable field. So the fact that this was on a bank does not bother me at all when I consider the story of Ruth. And do a word study on what a biblical field is, and you will see that biblical fields were not what we have in our mind today of this flat, pristine, lawn-looking piece of land. It was various shapes and various forms. So we're just looking here, all of this wild wheat up in here. You have to really look. The wind thankfully was blowing, and because it was moving, it's easier to see. When the wind's not blowing, it just looks like dark spots. We're going to look here at the curvature of the land in a minute. The barley, the wheat was just really beautiful this year. Really, there was a lot of beautiful wheat in there. And I'm going to show you that again, there's the sun. It was east facing, absolutely east facing. Okay? Which just amazed me. That's so prophetic. If Yeshua's going to gather in his wheat to his garners, okay? I'm showing you that the topography here, do you see how it curves past my finger right here? This is the line right here where it starts to face east. On this side of it, there was no wheat. On this side of it, where it began to face east, there was wheat. Again, this is where I had parked the car. All this curve right to here, it did not face east. There was no wheat. As soon as this orientation faced east, we had all of this wheat right here in this area. I don't know if you can see it in there. There it is, yeah. This was a smaller ear of wheat, but nonetheless, it was east facing. And it was fully mature and not diseased. So it was quite a lesson today to see where the Father had planted the wheat. So when I'm asking you to pray for the place where I'm going to plant the wheat, in the 7th month this year, the 7th biblical month, we've got about 4 lunar cycles left before I have to, 3 lunar cycles, all that on top of there is wheat, before I have to get this in the earth. I'm asking you to pray for an east-facing, sloped area, field, with no cattle and no goats or sheep to eat my harvest, to plant this towards next year so that it will know this timing of Shavuot is correct. And now this is what I came home with. These are grocery bags full right there and right there. Look at all that. That's just more than I was able to grow. And I probably will be able to collect this much again when I go back out on Yom Rishon. So this is what the Bible says. Hang on, I'm going to get stop sharing. I'm going to get a verse for you. Deuteronomy 11 says that, hair sticking up. Deuteronomy 11 says that Elohim's eyes are on the land here in Israel from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And it's a land where they were not going to have to water and carry the water to their produce like they did in Egypt, like they carried water to by foot to an herb garden. He said it's a land of hills and rivers and drinks the water from heaven. And basically he's saying he's the gardener. So they were not to have had to plant or water. They were not to have to water their produce, okay? And a lot of it was planted when they come into the land. And I do adhere to that when I'm looking at the 7 species to know the calendar. But there's another verse I'm going to read to you, and I'll screen share it with you here. If I can get it up. I just pulled it up on the internet because it's quicker to do. And we'll screen share. And this is Deuteronomy 16:16. 3 times a year shall thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place where he shall choose. In the feast of unleavened, and that bread is an added word. In Hebrew, it doesn't say bread. It said in the feast of matzot. And the feast of unleavened, that happens during the week that we eat unleavened bread, that we're supposed to go up to Jerusalem right after Pesach, historically speaking. It says, and in the Feast of Weeks. Feast of Weeks is Shavuot. And that's what Shavuot means. It's sevens, okay? And in the Feast of Tabernacles. I'm sorry, that's not the one I wanted. That's a good one, but let me go get the one I want. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Actually, whoops, hang on. I gotta get this up so I can find it. There we go. Now I can find it. And there. I think you're seeing that. 3 times a year shalt thou keep a feast unto me. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened, not bread, unleavened, matzot. Thou shalt eat unleavened, not bread, unleavened, matzot. 7 days as I command thee in the time appointed of the month of the Abib, not Abib. In Hebrew it says the Abib. It was an article. It was the name of something, not the name of a month. For in it thou camest out of Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. The feasts of harvest, this is Shavuot, the first fruits of thy labor. Now, remember, we were just looking at the verse that talked about that we weren't planting per se and watering, that Elohim was watering. But here we're told that the feast of harvest, or the feast of weeks, or Shavuot is the first fruits of our labor, which thou hast sown in the field, but Elohim still waters it. The feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year. Now it's talking about Sukkot. It's talking about that's when we would go up, would be Sukkot. After, that should say after thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. 3 times in the year all thy males shall appear before the Lord. And actually, Deuteronomy 16:13 clarifies it a little bit better. Thou shalt observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days after that thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine, thy grapes. So I wanted to show you that because I thought it was important for you to understand why I am planting the wheat, because it was the work that we were to do on the land. I do plant it, and I let Elohim water it and mature it, and I watch it to make sure that the timing is in concert with the first fruits of barley that I use to determine the beginning of the year. And this year, it was just spot on perfect. It was amazing. Thank the Father in heaven. Praise his eternal name forever. He helped me understand this year that his calendar is established by all 7 of his species, the 7 species of the land. They were the acceptable first fruits offered in the temple. Only they were the acceptable first fruits required by the Father. And we use them all to know the timing. If we have the barley correct, then the wheat will be correct. If we have the wheat correct, then the grapes will be ready for its first stripe, its first fruit on the biblical month of the fifth month, what we think of, what the Jews call the month of Av. Okay. And the list goes on. You know, you've got the 3 trees that are due after the 7th month. It begins a new season of harvest. They're not already in the same moment. But these 7 feasts not only are prophetic about the past, they're prophetic about the future, they're prophetic about the present, and they tell us the perfect timing of Elohim's calendar when we have everything lined up the way it should be. We should expect to see a parade of harvests at the appropriate time in his calendar. So, yes, please pray for a piece of land where I can plant this wheat in an east-facing, full morning sun position, looking out across the Kinneret over towards the east, towards Syria, where that rising sun is going to come up. And we'll stand back, we'll watch Father water it, and I won't have to run around and hunt for it. And yeah, it's just my desire to see a full field of this growing in Israel again that's not being used for testing. Okay, so that's what I've got for you. Thank the Father in heaven for his mercy and his grace and his provision and his love and his direction and his guidance and his leading and he's magnificent. And I'm always humbled by him. And yeah, we had a pretty good gift from him this year. There's going to be plenty of wheat to sow a field of wheat kernels to sow a new field of wheat. So thanks for watching, and thank you for praying for me, and pray that this field shows up and I recognize it before the 7th month. Shabbat Shalom.